Hello everybody, it is me, McBoneless. I'm back from another video, and yes, I am a bone. I wanted to talk today about the current state of the Hunter class, or more so, the current state of the Hunter class in comparison to the other classes. Ever since the release of the final shape, at least to me, it has felt like the Hunter class has either been prismatic or bust. Now, as far as Hunter's subclasses go, not including prismatic, they have been making some efforts to try and bring them up to the same level as like Warlock and Titan subclasses, but still currently I think they're getting outmatched. Now you're like, okay, McBoneless, you're just talking. We get it. You're a Hunter main, so of course you're going to complain that your class is going to be the weakest, right? Well, I kind of have some facts here and some proof to kind of just show that the Hunter subclass is kind of struggling right now. Now, I still think Prismatic Hunter is still really good. I think it could even use a little bit of a touch of a buff in comparison to Prismatic Warlock, especially Prismatic Warlock, holy cow, with the whole getaway artist thing. And then Prismatic Titan, the whole consecration and the knockout aspect.
Yeah, we do.
The consecration aspect. Yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong with that. One of the most common trends I've seen across all these subclasses is survivability. Now, I'm not really surprised that Hunters have the hardest kind of survivability aspect out of the three classes, because they are kind of like the rogue subclass, where, you know, they kind of have like the low HP, but like sneak around, precision factor. But that can be a problem, considering that over the past few years, there have been a bunch of additions to damage resistance and multiple different healing factors, like, you know, Devour being spread out through all classes instead of just Warlock. The introduction of Restoration, all this other stuff has just kind of made it a healing and DR game. And honestly, I'm not really complaining too much about the Hunter's access to these kinds of buffs, because they do have them, but there are some moments where it's like, well, I may have really good DR, but I don't have great healing, or I may have good healing, but I don't have good DR. One example is like the Solar subclass. The Solar subclass is very focused on healing. Now, Hunters have healing grenades, right? And then they have Cure at maximum precision stacks or on your mark stacks with on your mark. But there are activities where you can just get one shot if you don't have any ounce of damage resistance on you. So to kind of make this easier, I'm going to just take a subclass and I'm going to compare it over all three subclasses, so we can kind of see some examples of what I'm talking about, because otherwise I'm just, you know, kind of yapping. Let's start with Solar. The Solar Hunter subclass has fairly good means of getting restoration. You have, of course, have fragments. You have an aspect that can allow you to get Cure on kill, kind of giving you a pseudo Devour. Now, you do have to upkeep that. Make sure you have your on your mark stacks enabled, right, all the way up to 10. Now, you do have to upkeep those on your mark stacks to ensure that you're always getting Cure, but that does help with survivability. You, of course, have Healing Grenade, which that's another gripe I have with Solar Hunter, is that it always feels like I have to run Healing Grenade, especially in endgame content, which is kind of lame, because what if I want to run like Young Ahamkar Spine with the Trip Mine Grenade and have a lot of fun there? But the Healing Grenade is just so good and so powerful, and if you play it right, you can have infinite restoration up as long as you're killing enemies, and there's no reason not to run it. And so I've always felt just obligated to run the Restoration Grenade. We look at Titan. Well, Titan has, of course, incredible ad clear as well as survivability with the Solar Titan subclass. They have sunspots that literally provide them infinite restoration. They have their hammer, which whenever they pick it, they throw it and pick it up, they get Cure. So there's definitely no problem there. And then there's Solar Warlocks. I mean, if there was a literal healing subclass, it is Solar Warlocks, right? They have Phoenix Dive for Cure. They have Healing Grenade access themselves, as well as Enhanced Healing Grenades, which can give you Resto ×2 with Touch of Flame. They, of course, have Well of Radiance. They also have Song of Flame, which can give DR, and like a lot of DR. I feel like Solar Hunter, I don't have any idea what it wants to accomplish. Like, does that make sense? Like, I don't know what the end goal is. I guess it's just to slay out with your guns, and it's more of a gun-focused kind of class. But then we have knives, which knives are a lot of precision, accuracy. I guess this subclass is the precision subclass. But when you compare it to other subclasses like Sunbreaker, where like Hammer Titan is just, it is the most, like, I mean this respectfully to my Titans, is the most degen baby crybaby, not cry. I'm sorry, y'all aren't crybabies, but like just like throw a hammer and profit, right? It's so easy. Where I like, if I want to use one of my knives, I have to time it. I have to make sure it hits a precision hit. It's kind of weird. Like, it's just as a melee. I do like the idea of having different types of knives, but I don't know how to necessarily buff them to not make them too OP. Like, if they're anything like a Hammer Titan, then like that's absurd. But I also don't. I can't think of off the top of my head what a great answer would be for that. Solar Warlock is just weird because I feel like it will just always be relevant because of Well of Radiance, and it just has a lot of just great utility tools going for it, like healing nades, like you can throw them out to your teammates, stuff like that, and they'll give you resto ×2. Moving on to Void Hunter, and this one's kind of a tough one because I think Void Hunter is a perfect subclass. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when we're talking about guns versus abilities, like gun spam versus ability spam, I think that Void Hunter encompasses it perfectly. It is a perfect synergy of both gunplay and ability play. I think with Void Hunter, you can run kind of like whatever type of gun you want, and then the Void abilities are very additive to the experience, and not just like, oh, let me just spam my abilities a ton and profit. Void Hunter is not flashy at all. It's very utility based, such as using invisibility to move around. You have Devour to stay alive. It's really solid. It's just a really good solid subclass. In my opinion, I think that's what really subclasses should have been, and maybe they were up to a certain point in Destiny's history, but not anymore. They're just all about spamming the abilities and doing a ton of damage or doing a ton of healing. And it's kind of this point where like, well, we really can't go back from that, right? Because we've had it for so long and we've already opened up Pandora's box. It would just kill the game probably if they nerfed all the subclasses and made them just like feel horrible. At the same time, I like the idea of having to not always have 100% uptime on abilities, because you need to use them sparingly and use them smart. And I think if you play smart, such as with Void Hunter, you're able to extend a lot of the use, such as like Stylish Executioner, where if you're playing with a Void debuffed enemy, right, and you're shooting them and going invis and going back out, and then debuffing another enemy, like you're able to extend invis a lot. So you're not necessarily using an ability, but you're using, I guess, the aspect. So now that I've kind of talked about Void Hunter, we can kind of compare that to currently what is the most ridiculous Warlock build I've ever witnessed in terms of just straight, like, what were they thinking? I'm talking about Nothing Manacles, the one where, you just throw a grenade and the whole room literally explodes. Like, I don't know how I got through QA. I genuinely don't. Like, that's absurd. Like, it's so easy, it's so low risk, and it just makes Void Hunter look ridiculous. Like, it makes it look completely irrelevant, right? Not to mention that we're also having a little bit of a John Chunk situation, if you catch my drift, with the controverse holds. But that'll probably be patched hopefully pretty soon. Well, not hopefully. I mean, I've honestly been having a lot of fun with it. I won't lie, I have been using it, and it is very fun. But that doesn't need to really be in the game for much longer, because it's ridiculous. It's such a crazy exploit. And then we have Void Titan with this infinite shield bash thing, that's kind of crazy too. I mean, it's not crazy broken, but it's still just an absurd thing. It's just super cool. My main point with this Void subclasses here is that like I really appreciate what Void Hunter was. I remember using it a ton whenever Void 3.0 came out, and just loving how good it felt. And it just felt really balanced. It felt really good. And I'm able to use my guns and my abilities feel more additive rather than just being the main show, I guess. Whereas currently, you know, the Void Warlock and Void Titan feel a lot more ability spammy. Now moving on to Arc. Now I will say, out of all the subclasses, all the regular subclasses of the main 5, I think Arc Hunter is probably the best right now. Tempest Strike is really strong now that it is able to combine with Combination Blow and synergize with that and do a ton of melee damage. And you can just spam it, and then you have Amplified, which is that with Ascension. Ascension's such a good ability, and then Tempest Strike is a good ability. So when you combine those two, it's pretty strong. Add that with a Gifted Conviction or the new Fortune's Favor exotic, and you have a lot of DR, and that pretty much, honestly, I don't have a lot of complaints about Arc Hunter currently. I honestly don't really think it needs too many more buffs, if any at all. But still, let's go ahead and compare it to Titan and Warlock. Now it's kind of weird because the last aspects that both Warlock and Titan got were Arc aspects. One of them being Storm's Keep on the Arc Titan, which literally the usage rate on Arc Titan just shot up and is still very high because Storm's Keep is just so meta. Bolt Charge is extremely strong, and you can just, you know, keep on getting it, and your weapons can discharge it, and it's insanely strong, like an insanely strong aspect. I'm glad that it's in the game, really, but it's just it brought, like, that's what we need. We need an aspect for these other Hunter subclasses that just like bring it back into the game. Like, unfortunately, we only have, I guess, what would be the Solar Hunter aspect left if we're trying to evenly distribute aspects to each of the subclasses, right? Because we've gotten our Void one and our Arc one for final shapes, right? We just need a Solar one. But anyway, Arc Titan, really strong. Then we have the Arc Warlock with Ionic Sentry, especially with the buffs they added to where it doesn't blind you anymore and it acts as a grenade, right? So it's just a super strong aspect. Arc Warlock's weird. I'm not necessarily saying they're better than Arc Hunter at this point, because I think Arc Hunter is still pretty strong. And I would say Arc, honestly, out of all 3 subclasses, all 3 of the regular classes, I would say that Arc has they're relatively all even in terms of power. Now, you start to see a little more issue with some of the Darkness subclasses here. So with Stasis, Hunter, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but the idea of having a lot of DR, but no healing, that's kind of the issues you start to see with Hunters in terms of survivability with these subclasses. Now, they did just add a really good buff to the Shatter Dive aspect, where if you shatter targets, you get maximum like stacks frost armor. That's really good. It's super strong. I've been using it built with the lightsaber currently, and it's still pretty fun. But again, if you're playing this in endgame content and you don't have a way to heal, it's just like, it's like you gotta have a mix of both. You gotta have the right amount of both. You can't have a crazy ton of healing but no DR, and you can't have a ton of DR but no healing, because they just kind of need to complement each other, right? Because if you have a ton of DR, you can take a bunch of hits, but if you're not healing back from those hits in time, then you're going to die. And if you just have a ton of healing, then you could easily get 1 or 2 shot from something. I mean, even then, like, you know, Restoration can only heal you back up so fast, right? I'll be honest here. I think just Stasis in general is weakest. Like, I don't have a lot to say about Stasis Warlock or Stasis Titan. I think Stasis Titan, Stasis Warlock, they're kind of just in the same ballpark as Stasis Hunter. Stasis Warlock kind of gets, I mean, they had the Stacy turrets, right? But those can also be used in Prismatic, so it kind of just made Stasis irrelevant by Prismatic releasing. Then you have Stasis. What does the Stasis Titan even do? Like, I don't know. I really don't know. Strand is kind of in the same boat. There's a good amount of DR, quite a bit actually, especially again with Ensnaring Slam being able to give you a lot of woven mail, like up to like 20 seconds of woven mail, which is crazy. But again, there's not a lot of healing going on. So again, I've already made the point about the healing and DR synergy. You got to have both. Something that does have both is Strand Titan, which is still really strong since what's the aspect that gives you the banner of war. Yeah, so the banner of war aspect, it literally heals you a bunch consistently, and then Titans already had a lot of access to Woven Mail, so they got best of both worlds. They have a ton of high melee damage, right? I mean, if you go back to like pre-final shape, you were literally, all I was seeing and on the like a bunch of the speedrun Reddits and everything was just a bunch of Strand Titans trivializing, and I truly mean trivializing the game, like just running around GMs, running around doing speed runs and just completely destroying. And they're still good. Like nothing really has changed that much with Strand Titans in terms of nerfing them. Like they are still incredible. I know I'm not trying to say that they need to nerf, but it was just such a crazy thing to see in comparison to the other two Strand subclasses. And then Strand Warlock, Strand Warlock has also been trying to get some buffs here and there. I think Strand Warlock has, again, kind of going back to that Void Hunter thing, what I was talking about, just having great utility. I think Strand Warlock it's one of my favorite subclasses. I know it's kind of weird to say as a Hunter main, but it's just like, again, it has like a nice balance of just utility, like strong utility. They have strong suspend utility, there's threadling utility, and it feels very complementary to the gunplay, which I think that's what a subclass should be. It shouldn't necessarily be a free-for-all spamathon, right? But at the same time, I won't lie, those builds are fun, right? They're super fun to just spam a bunch of abilities. That's what Prismatic, that's the foundation that was built on, was just spamming abilities because you have, Transcendence. And I won't lie, that's very fun. But at one point, do we lose kind of like that sauce of Destiny where the gunplay and the abilities like mesh? In conclusion, I think Hunter still needs more buffs to kind of either bring them up to the same level, because Warlock with Getaway Artist is one of the best builds in the game right now. It's extremely absurd. But I'm interested to hear in what you guys have to say. If you're a fellow Hunter main and want to add something in the comments, feel free. You're more than welcome to type down there and talk to me. I'll try and talk back. Even if you're not a Hunter main and just want to give your input, you think I'm just, high or something and just going crazy talking about, what do you mean Hunters are not strong right now or not like crazy powerful? I just love to hear that too. I'm open to all the criticism. Again, I'm literally just a floating bone, and I'm speaking to you. But please be sure to subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. I'm trying to get into the more just commentary on the game, on Destiny. I like Destiny. I like Arc Raiders. And I'm probably gonna do some coverage when Marathon comes out, so that'll be fun. Sure to drop a like as well, and I will see you guys all in the next one. See y'all.